Now I want to read this on his notes. 93 average. Over here, these are his notes. He's put this right here. Dante mentions this source around 1 hour, 27 minutes, 30 seconds. However, the text deals with skin color in relation to climate. It implies the darkness of skin being influenced by the climate in Jordan and light complexion in Europe. Now, why didn't I read that? Because this is the author's opinion. And the reason it's the author's opinion, or the fact that it's the author's opinion, means you don't read it into the factual points of the text. Opinions do not trump the facts, so you don't have to read the author's opinion into it. And that's what 93 is doing. That's what Kevin G did the other night, but I'm not gonna get on Kevin G right now. I'm gonna stick to 93 average.
Major target, brother, but I just want to shout you out for the little, for not the little, for the layup, because I already had this covered. I had there was a coffin already made. You just helped me, close the door.
Right, there was a coffin already made. You just spent 4.5 hours digging your own grave. 93 average. He just attended his own funeral. 4.5 hours digging his own grave. Here we go.
Okay, so Dante mentions this source. However, the text deals with skin color in relation to climate. Let me just get to it, right? The source is on the classification of geographical distribution of the mammalia. Richard Owens, 1859, page 96 to 97. With reference to the characteristics of color, which are extreme, we now have opportunities of knowing how much that character is the result of the influence of climate. But Dante didn't even read this above sentence. I'm going to tell you what he did read. He didn't even start on the beginning of the...
Again, the author's opinion isn't necessary when we're talking about facts. And at this point in history, 100% opinion. And the author makes it clear that that is his conclusion. We're going to talk more on that when I get in the video, too. We're going to talk way more about that.
Page. Because this is all about the differences in looks of people. But now we see, we prefacing it with climate. We know it more particularly by that most valuable mode of testing such influences, which we derive from the peculiar, help me out, English kicking my butt, the peculiarity of the Jewish race. For 1800 years, that race has been dispersed in different latitudes and climates, and they have preserved themselves distinct from intermixture with other races of mankind. I don't even think Dante read this, because this would have gave him some context. There are some Jews still lingering in the valley of Jordan, having been oppressed by the successive conquerors of Syria for ages, a low race of people, and described by trustworthy travelers as being as black as any of the Ethiopian races.
Hold on. Now, they are in Jordan and they're black as any of the Ethiopian races. I just want to put that there. Now, he's making a big deal about this climate thing. This climate change in their skin color. That's important.
Others of the Jewish people participating in European civilization and dwelling in the northern nations show instances of light complexion, blue eyes, light hair of the Scandinavian
instances, not necessarily normal, instances of it.
families. The condition of the Hebrews since their dispersion has not been such to admit of much admixture by the proselytism of household slaves.
All right, so now these people in the Jordan, they're as dark as the Ethiopian races. Now he's reading and saying there hasn't been much admixture by the proselytism of household slaves. It's important, but not as important as you might think.
We are thus led to account for the differences in color by the influence of climate, without having to refer them to original or specific distinctions. Now, let me go back. Dante only read this part where it said they was in the Valley of Jordan, and then the part where it said they was black as Ethiopians. He didn't tell y'all that they was going to look in the result of climate.
Now, what's important is they observed that these people were black and decided they were black because of the climate. That is not a scientific fact. That is opinion, and he is intentionally not pointing out the difference, and there's going to be a reason why. Listen to Faithful in the background. Just listen to Faithful's ad-libs in the background.
The peculiarity of the Jewish race dispersed. They preserved themselves distinct, and that climate might have played a part in different latitudes and climates. He didn't tell y'all that. He just read the part he wanted to read, which means, again, when you say you got all these sources, your sources are my sources, and I'm demonstrating how maybe you can just bring all the sources and we can have a source party, and maybe someone could probably win a debate with you by just using only your sources.
Just using your sources, right?
All right, so he said my sources are his sources, and I could bring the sources. We have a debate party. This is July 31st, 2021 is when this video dropped. July 31st, 2021. Now, let's fast forward to August 1st. August 1st, 2021, deception and misinformation. So this is Berean's video that he did covering the subject. Berean puts out this video, and underneath the video, there's a comment. And Brother Tazara, you'll see him here, he asked 93 average. He mentioned the whole thing about climate. Now, what does 93 average do? On August 1st of 2021, exactly 1 day later, a little less than 24 hours later, he debunks himself. To be brief, here it is, 93 average at Tazara. To be brief, no, I don't believe the climate turned them black, nor have I ever said that was my opinion. Second, instead of assigning me a motive to be deceptive, why don't you come on a live and have a discussion with me or invite me on your live? Now, let's first deal with the hypocrisy, and then we'll come back to the deception part. The hypocrisy is he was in a video with Faithful assigning a motive to me, and he didn't talk to me first. That's the hypocrisy part. But let's go back to the deceptive part. He started talking about climate. Well, let me not say he started there. The first clip I pulled was from 59 minutes into this 4.5 hour video. He's talking about climate turning them black. The second clip I pulled is from 1 hour and 54 minutes into this video, talking about climate calling them black, or the climate being the reason that they are turning black. And then he jumps on 24 hours later, less than 24 hours later, and says, to be brief, no, I don't believe the climate turned them black, nor have I ever said that was my opinion. So wait a minute. Why are you out pushing information that you don't believe yourself? See, they just wanted to make an attack video on me. This dude, 93 average, was being deceptive. He pushed that information knowing full well he didn't believe a single word that was coming out of his own mouth. He didn't once during the video point out or let people know that he didn't believe the information that he was making a big deal about.
The following clip is from the Tazara and Dante Debunked Part 2 video. It features two clips from the 158 and 21 seconds to 159 and 17 seconds mark of the very video Dante was commenting on. Dante Fortson debunked and exposed Part 2. Not only did Dante gloss over the actual points being made, perhaps because he didn't understand them, he also left out the relevant timestamps mentioned. This was either done willfully, to misrepresent 93 and ignore the salient points being made, which weren't centered on the ignorant views of climate in Dante's source, or because he didn't bother to watch the whole video he was commenting on. Along with Tazara debunked parts 1 and 2.
Why didn't he address the response and refutation we did to those points? His new video did nothing to refute our sources, and he now moves the goalposts in order to toss out more claims for us to address without answering the points we actually made. So, in this presentation, we will deal with a couple of his new claims while driving our previous points home. And that's what I plan to do. So again, a lot of this stuff is taken from the comment section of Berean's video. That 93 Avarice guy, well, dang, you had one job, brother. You see my name, is a deceiver. Dante shared sources saying Jews who have never left the Jordan Valley of Israel are black as Ethiopians. In Faithful's video, 93 uses the same source and claims it says Jews are only black because of climate, but the source says those Jews have always been in that location climate. Faithful knows how to pick them. So down here we have Owens' source, and he's claiming that I'm asserting what the author says. I'm asserting it. And you know, I might have to give them a little something because I didn't tie these two sources, Owens and Bedeau, in the way I needed to the first time. It was so much I had to say. As y'all can see, the first video I did was like we was like what, 3 hours, 3.5, nearly 4, to the point where Dante said, "Oh, this snore fest, I'm not gonna watch all this." He said that in the comment section. But Anyway, we do see that the author said that he claimed he got reports from trusty travelers of dark Jews or black Jews, dark as Ethiopians, which, you know, doesn't mean that they're of African descent or the ancestors of our people. They're just as dark as some people you'll see in Africa, right? But this is what he's led to say: the difference between why some white Jews in Europe are their color and why dark people are what dark Jews are in the Levant region. He said, we are thus led to account for the differences in color by the influence of climate. And I wanted to drive the point home that Dante is using an author that believed that. If you understand the implications of what Owens is saying, he's not even really technically making your case. He's not disagreeing that the ones in Europe are converts or they're not authentic Jews. He's saying they're Jews, but perhaps they turned white because of climate. Do you believe that the same way they think it's ridiculous for a white person to go and become a Negro in the climate, do you think that a Negro could go to Europe and all of a sudden turn into the white Jews there? So in a way, I'm saying, dang, Dante, you're not even reading what the author said. He's suggesting that a person could basically, because of the climate, turn the way that they are. But that's not my major point anyway. So if they were saying that this was irrelevant, it's irrelevant. We only want to deal with the fact that he found the report of black Jews. Fine. My main point is Badeau. Badeau is the main point because, like me, Badeau is somebody that's fact checking. Now, you can accuse him of scientific racism all you want. It's the 19th century. Almost everybody we're going to cite is going to have a negative view or something weird to say about black people. They're a product of their times. I'm not endorsing his opinions. Of course not. He's talking about my people. But I'm just being a researcher and being dispassionate. And just like you tried to use the part you used with Owens, I'm only dealing with Badeau's parts that is pertinent to this conversation. So like me, you know, I'm someone, we're 162 years after Owens right here. Somebody like Badeau is doing what we're doing 2 years after Owens. And he did it in a peer-reviewed journal. That's the source that he looked into. So the why I put emphasis on Owens' opinion on the climate is Dante didn't acknowledge that the author concluded skin color based on climate. But Dante think it's irrelevant, so okay. 2, I wanted to set up a counter to Owens with my follow-up source, Badeau, because I didn't really do it the first stream. I failed the first stream to tie that in right. So that's on me. Badeau not only disagrees with climatic arguments, but found fair Jews just as old still living in Israel. Thus, the notion of only ancient black Jews existing in Israel is mute. I show both dark and fair Jews in Dura Europos. That's in Syria, similar climate. So while we don't need to really do the climatic argument, okay, because Dura Europos is in Syria. That's a warm place, and we've seen both dark and light Jews existing there with no problem, right? If Tazarah believes Owens' quote proves only black Jews are the originals who never left, he now has to contend with an equally old population of non-black Jews still in Israel at that point. In Tiberias, Jews in that region, or in Israel or the Levant, for any matter, were a variety of colors. Okay? So I'm using Badeau because he's making some of the arguments I would make. Okay, we don't have to deal with climate. Okay, I'm not necessarily believing in climate like Badeau. Okay, I'm looking in books and I'm talking to travelers and they can't confirm these Jews. That's what Badeau doing. That's the crux of this argument. So Badeau, he speculated that Owens' source may be confused with a tribe that Buckingham describes in Hieromax, Jordan. So there's another tribe in Jordan that get dark people, and he's saying, well, maybe they confused this account of dark Jews there with these dark people there. But this tribe has some characteristics of the Jews mentioned, but were not Jews, or they weren't as dark as Owens' source stated, right? He trying to say I deceived the audience by quoting Richard Owens' opinion. I'm not trying to deceive. I was just saying, hey, look, your author is saying this weird stuff. But I guess that's irrelevant, so let's move on. Now, I went in the comic section and I explicitly told them, no, I don't believe climate turned them black. I do believe a person could get a little tan or dark, but it's not going to give them the phenotype of black Africans, thick lips, thick nose, kinky hair, dark eyes. I don't think that. But we've seen the people in the region, and they're obviously not white. They're brown skinned. So I never said that that was my opinion. Second, instead of assigning me a motive to be deceptive, why don't you come on live and have a discussion? His response was kind of like, I came on there and y'all kicked me off. I didn't kick him off. I don't know who kicked him off. I didn't do it. I don't have control of this channel. But I'm willing to have a conversation, right? So this is a comment section. There's people that's asking him questions. They said, hey, why you didn't, talk about the climate? Dante Fortson said, doesn't matter. I read the source as is. I never made any claims about the source other than what it said. I mean, well, it said that it's because of climate. That's the whole reason I made the big deal about it. So you just went straight to the part about the dark Jews, which, all right. all right. Because my point is about Bedeau. Was it presented that way, or was it deception involved? Oh, that's the issue. He thinks it's deception, right? And then here's the sister here. I was clarifying 93 didn't make that claim. So somebody else that watched the video said they seen I didn't make the claim. The author made the claim. It's Tazara. Does the author's opinion that the climate was the reason for the black skin hold any weight? And can it be proven? Well, if that's a valid point, Tazara, does the author Bedeau's opinion about Welsh people having negroid skull or whatever that you said, does that have any weight towards his inability to have people tell him that they couldn't find these Jews? People are telling him this. So does his opinion on something else mean that that his racism or however he feels about skull types or whatever that you're trying to raise, is that the reason why people can't tell him they can't find these Jews? That's ridiculous. When asked by a commenter about the source, Dante and Tazara responded that the author's opinions are irrelevant. Okay. All right. Tazara now has to deal with Bedeau vetting Owens and the ancient fair Jews in Tiberias. His next move will be a genetic fallacy to attempt to invalidate Bedeau. So here, can you get those clips right here? Because I'm going to show Dante right here. Dante told somebody, multiple other sources confirm it. So at most, there will be a notation made that just specific claims were So Dante tried to act a little fair. So he going to put a note there if it's on his site. If he don't feel like he want to take it down, he say he going to put a note there. I respect that. Okay. After we check it for ourselves. Faithful to God has zero priority because he's on a clout chase. I wonder why 93 didn't make it clear during the video that he doesn't believe they are black because of climate, but will jump in the comments and say it. Someone is lying. So we'll see if I'm lying. And he asked why I didn't make it clear during the video. Now, I didn't take a lot of time out to make a long speech about what I believe, because I didn't know they was going to try to use that against me. Right. Me reading the source is going to be me saying it. It's ridiculous. But you may not have caught it, Dante, but the hour 58 minute 20 seconds and the hour 59 minute 7 seconds, I state Owens' opinions aren't my own. I at least allude to it not being my own. Now, perhaps I should have taken more time to make it clear this argument on climate was not my major issue with Owens. I know I did put emphasis, but my major thing is Bedeau, right? Right. So if you feel that point was irrelevant, we'll just deal with Bedeau. So can you play the clips from 1 hour 58:20?
Peninsula. Right.
Transjordan.
Right.
Now they saying that these Jews here, this source he used, I'm not saying it's true, but this source is saying, oh, I'm not saying it's true. He account for the differences of color by the influence of climate. This source he used, I'm not saying it's true. This source he used, I'm not saying it's true. This source he used, I'm not saying it's true, but this source is saying, oh, well, we account for the differences of color by the influence of climate. I'm not saying it's true. Now, I didn't make a big speech about it, but I didn't know that I'm glad I said even that, though. But they would have used that against me, like, as if that's relevant, though, even if my bad, you said something? Faithful, you said something?
And their argument
if they chose this. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to get as dark as you will get tanned. But I'm just saying magically, if these people they only answer is climate. Why the difference of that? But play that again. This source he used, I'm not saying it's true, but this source he used, I'm not saying it's true. This source he used, I'm not saying it's true, but this source is saying, oh, well, we account for the differences of color by the influence of climate. Shows this. Now, I'm not saying
And their argument,
if they chose this. Now, I'm not saying that you're gonna get as dark as you will get tan, but I'm just saying magically, if these people they only answer is climate. Wow, you can stop it. So you see, I'm saying magically, if you could turn that, but their only answer is climate. I'm not saying it's true, but this source he used, I'm not saying it's true. This source he used, I'm not saying it's true, but this source is saying, oh well, we account for the differences of color by the influence of climate. All right, you can stop. You can stop. So it's clear that I made points. They're small, quick points. If Dante, because I know he's not watching all of it, which is but you'll miss that because they're very short. I guess he wanted a big speech about it, but I at least stated it there in the video and in the comments. Let's finish up Bedeau. That's him. Back to Bedeau. This is the source. Now there's various authors in here. This is kind of like a peer-reviewed kind of text. It's from 1861, right? Sort of journal of anthropology with various contributing authors. He writes on page 227, 237. We go here. Now this is going to deal with why I was talking about climate, because Bedeau don't agree with it, right? So we see Dr. Pritchett, for example. Matter of fact, I'll start here. The varieties of complexion and color among the Jews have attracted the attention of some ethnological writers and of many observant travelers. These differ widely among themselves in their notion on the subject. Dr. Pritchard, he was in my slab, but I took him out because, for example, seems to have believed that the Jews, without having sullied the purity of their blood or mixing, to an extent capable of producing notable effects on their physique, had been, by the influence of climate and modes of living, almost assimilated to the nations among whom they dwelt. So he's saying they just went amongst them and look completely like them without mixing. I don't agree with that. I think climate possibly can change your skin to some modest effect, so you can get more tan. Even me, I can go to Africa and get slightly more tan, come back, and people be saying you darker. And in the wintertime, I'll get a little lighter, And of course, I know Italian people that I see every day at my job. I'm like, man, you be brown as heck. Yeah, man, I'm from Sicily, man. We're all brown like this. My mom, my dad, and all that. So, but I don't believe you turn into a phenotypically other person. Come on now, y'all know better than that. So this is what Bedeau says about that, the climate changing them, right? He says, these views and this illustration have been frequently quoted and made much of. I suspect them to be doubly erroneous. And I agree with that. I doubt whether redbeards are more common among German than other Jews, and I doubt whether any evidence can be adduced to show that climatic influence without crossing of blood has produced any change in the Jewish physiognomy. I gotta get this word down. Physiognomy, right? And I agree with that. I don't believe that. I was pointing out the author Dante got is saying stuff like that. But Dante said it didn't matter, so I'm just gonna deal with the crux, which is Bedeau, right? Owens and Pritchard makes an assertion based on climate. I can agree with Bedeau being skeptical of climatic arguments. So here he's talking about Owen right here. He shows he has Owens' quote from that book. 1800 years, race been dispersed in different latitudes and climates, So we go to the next page, right? Because Tazarah thinks that because he is an adherent of the curse of Canaan or racist, that he can't find any dark Jews, or he can't find those Jews in Jordan. So we go to the page 224 of this text here, Bedeau, and he's and when after he reads the quote of Owens about the dark Jews in Jordan, he says, I regret that I have been unable in the course of inquiries made on the subject to trace it to its source. I've examined many books of travel and interrogated many travelers. This is the means and the methodology he's using to locate or find these Jews, to validate them. Not him just saying, I'm a racist, so I don't want to see black Jews. He said he's looking in books of travel and interrogated many travelers. Owens says that he got his information from trustworthy travelers. So this is the same means he's doing. This is what we do. We look in books. We talk to people that live amongst these people, but he wasn't able to get any confirmation on their existence of these Negro Jews. Now, that don't mean there aren't people are actual Jews that are brown skinned, and people can say that they're just as dark as Africans. That doesn't mean that there ain't Jews in the Jordan, but he couldn't get confirmation of those specific ones from Owens' source. So he goes to another person, right? I'm informed by Mr. Hodges of Bristol, who is a long missionary among the Jews in different countries. So he has a source, Bristol, that there are no Jews in the Gore. There's no Jews in the Gore or Lower Valley of Jordan. So this is the source that's saying he couldn't locate none. There ain't none there. There is a populous settlement of ancient date, old date, at Tiberias. Now, Tiberias, the city, apparently was set up by, I believe, the Hasmonean kings. I could be wrong, but they set that up in the second century AD. Was it AD? I know it wasn't BC, but that is an ancient settlement. Just as a matter of fact, I think it's 20. Anybody look up Tiberias and look at the date of the settlement of the city. But the land has always been there. Jews have always had access to the land. But Tiberias, I think, is from 20 CE or AD. So that would be just as long as right before the dispersal of the Jews in 70 AD. So they're just as old. It was there on the low hot shore of Lake Gennesareth, but the Jews there present no striking peculiarities. Certainly not black skin or crisp hair. Some of them are quite fair. So we see non-black Jews can exist in Israel, in Tiberias, just as long as the purported dark ones that Tazra say never left the Jordan Valley, right? We are 162 years after Owens' source debating its veracity, whereas Badeau is contemporary to Owens and investigated sources, books, and travelers, and could not receive any confirmation from them. An actual missionary, Mr. Hodges, informed him there were no Jews there. However, an ancient population of fair-skinned Jews in Tiberias are found. Ironically, Tazara is behaving the same way he accuses Badeau. He wants to prop up the black Jews, but ignore the ancient fair Jews existing in Israel that was found by Hodges. Badeau's other views are relevant, and it has no bearing on his source's inability to confirm these particular Jews of Jordan. I don't want to debate this point no more because it's redundant. It's redundant. Same page. We're going to go further down. So I'm actually challenge the idea, he can't find it because he's racist. Let's see if he find dark people on the same page. He said, is it not possible that the foundations of this statement may, after all, be found in the writings of Silk Buckingham, who noticed some flat-faced, crisp-haired people among a tribe of the Lower Hami or Hyromax? That's in Jordan, I believe. Hyromax, Lower Hami? Yeah, but they're not Jews, though. Look, the tribe, however, was Arab, not Jewish. The complexions were not so dark as those of some other Arabs. So they're brown-skinned because, a lot of Arabs are. Maybe somebody was looking at the skin color of those people, and maybe they might be exaggerating because Arabs, even the brown tan Arabs, there's some people in Africa that have that skin tone, or them being people of color period might been enough for some people to go that far as to say, oh, they're dark as Ethiopians. I don't know, maybe that's the case, but either way, it's possible, or at least Badeau is saying it's possible that they're getting this information from Buckingham, who went to a place in Jordan and seen some brownish kind of people that people might have thought was Jews, right? And here he said, lastly, the presence of a black slave girl suggested the probability of Negro concubinage, right? So now he's finna get from Mr. Tristram, he's finna get a report of dark people in Warregla, right? And this connection, an account of the Jews of Warregla given by Mr. Tristram in his recently published Travels in the Sahara, is deserving of mention. Warregla is in an oasis in the desert about north latitude 32 degrees, inhabited by a race believed by Mr. Tristram to be deeply stained with Negro blood. So now he has got a source that he's able to get a source that tells him about a dark group of people possibly mixed with black people in the north, right? In the North Africa. The Jews have been settled there for ages. They afford, says he, an interesting example of the effect of climate. Now even he might be adhering to a climatic argument, right? Which in the course of generations seems to have produced the dark colored pigment. They were almost as black as Negroes, much darker than their brethren of the Mozab and Wed Rahir. yet there was not the slightest trace of the Negro features. So we see that these people here, who he believes has been mixed with Negroes, they're almost black as Negroes. But their facial features, right? They don't have the slightest trace of Negro features. So you can be dark, just as dark as a quote-unquote Negro, or African, or a black person, and not be those people. All the lineaments were as distinctly Jewish as in any clothes dealer in Houndsditch. Lineaments means facial features. So in these people, they didn't have black facial features or Negro facial features. Their facial features were as distinctly Jewish as any clothes dealer in Houndsditch. Y'all look up where Houndsditch is. That's in London, I believe. That's in Europe. So they got facial features of people that you can find in London. They don't have African facial features. They were as dark as the black Jews of Abyssinia, whom I have seen in Jerusalem. So Bedeau actually seen the Falashas, or the Abyssinian Jews, in Israel, which is interesting to me. I didn't know that in the 19th century they were there already, or some of them were there. But now you saying he can't find it because he can't find dark Jews in Jordan because they black. But here he is saying, I've seen black Jews before. I've seen the Falashas in person in Israel. It's ridiculous, right? He's saying those people hair, right, weren't woolly. It was grizzled and matted. Now here he goes talk about the Jews of Gardea. So he's getting mention of Jews, right? They are also stated to be very dark as the Hindus, but with features intensely Jewish. Right here, we already know when they say Jewish features, they're comparing it to Jews in Houndsditch, or non-African features, right? There's a juxtaposition between Negro features and Jewish features. So when he's saying he found in dark Jews of Gardea, or somebody bringing it to his attention, they're very dark as Hindus, but with features intensely Jewish, right? So why would Bedeau ignore the Jews in Jordan when he has already seen black Jews in person? His sources are detailing dark Jews in North Africa. The issue isn't their color, it's his inability to confirm those particular Jews in Jordan through his sources and contacts. So let's not play that game, man. Like, I'm done with this argument. It's done. It's a wrap. Now, this is where he moved the goalposts again. Tazarah goes to page 230 in the same book. And because Bedeau has an issue with the legitimacy of the Jews of Cochin, the Cochin Jews, now he's racist. But he's actually mentioning black Jews in Cochin. He's acknowledging their existence, whether he agree with them or not. So that's another case of him actually being able to, in one way or another, confirm dark Jews. It's just he couldn't find the ones in Jordan, right? This is the quote from him. As for the black Jews of Cochin, I believe it is now generally acknowledged that they are not Jews at all, except in religion. Among the so-called white Jews, and we're going to touch on them white Jews later. Among the so-called white Jews, indeed, there may be a fair proportion of true Israelite blood, and accordingly, they are stated to have retained, after the lapse of so many centuries, a comparatively fair complexion. So Bedeau's racism does little to stop his acknowledgement of the black Jews of Cochin. He, however, favors the white Jews whom later came, possibly due to their extraction and documented history that will be further explored later. We're going to get into that. So I just got to show you something funny real quick. So you see right here where he was, taunting me. You out here referencing authors who believed in the Hamitic hypothesis, cuz. So at some point, perhaps at some point I called him cuz back. See, I'm from Chicago. We don't say cuz unless we say cousin. It's a term of endearment. We don't, as far as like the criminal organizations here, cuz, that's a West Coast thing. So you doxing yourself, Tazarah. you doxing yourself. But we don't say that. So when I was saying cuz back, I was just really being funny. Like, yeah, cuz, whatever. But we see what his intention was, and we see how he feels about it, right? This is what he said to me. And I'm going to say it in his voice because he means to demean me. So I'm just going to just make a little light of it because it's, he's talking tough or whatever. And I don't want to invite that energy. So I'm just going to make light of it, right? And you don't bang, cuz. I can tell by how soft your voice is. Mine isn't soft at all. I can tell by how soft your voice is. You ain't never been on the set in your life. Don't ever call me cuz again. So if you heard Tazarai's voice, I'm sure it's equally as imposing as mine, you know, if you heard his video, heard him talk. Tazarai, yeah, he's a real toughie. We can clearly see he is about that life over the information. See him, right? You know, he's a spirit animal. Tazarai's painful struggle with the sources and maybe his subconscious. Who will win? I think this, you know, this kind of reminds me of Tazarai. And yeah, I'm not trying to make an ad hominem. I'm just trying to make a light of this, because when you talk this kind of gangbang talk, some people get real tied up in the sources and they might actually really want to fight and stuff. I don't take it that serious. It's funny, you know. I'm not a tough guy. I'm just an independent researcher. But I thought it was real funny that he came this way at me over the information. It was very reminiscent of Scrappy Doo and kind of this kind of scenario here. You're gonna hype me up and make him catch a body like that, you know? You know? So we go here. Now Dante, he showed that he knew better, that an argument of a genetic fallacy, he may not be able to give you the term genetic fallacy, but he's able to understand that a genetic fallacy is wrong. But he gives in, I guess, out of retribution or vengeance, or, you know, trying to get revenge. He says, you guys do it, so I'm gonna do it. So on his community tab, he's taking Tazarai's argument, right? This pic is from one of the sources he shared, but conveniently left out the pages so it wouldn't expose his anti-black agenda. He's talking about Faithful. Teaches that black people are Canaanites and that Ham was cursed with black skin because his mother descended from Cain. And he even shouting out Tazarai so that you know he got it from him. Shout out Tazarai for immediately tearing down every claim Faithful made, right? So Dante just, you know, Tazarai via Dante charged me via Faithful with a source that I, not Faithful, provided. He quoted the wrong author. So even when they tried to use the curse of Canaan, they was quoting from the wrong author in that same book, right? Tazarai believes that because Bedoya appears to uphold the Hamitic hypothesis, I already talked about that. His genetic fallacy.
Right.
So they were quoting from page 11, right? Thinking that it was Bedoya saying that in this book. Dante is parroting Tazarai, who quotes page 11, as a way to attack Bedoya's credibility. Tazarai was actually quoting Admiral Fitzroy and his contribution to varieties of race. We see the book. If y'all watched my last video, we went through this already, so I'm gonna try to, you know, go past it real fast. So we see that Fitzroy from 1 to 11. We see Bedoya come in here. We're gonna see somebody, Robert Knox, right, who Tazarai is gonna make a reference to and quote, is in this book too. So he's a supposed anti-Semite himself, Robert Knox, who is also featured in this edition. Should I invalidate his source due to its proximity to an adherent of the Hamitic race theory in Fitzroy? So because he's gonna quote somebody that's in the same book as Fitzroy, should I disqualify his argument? Should I do the same thing? It's Fitzroy. Page 10, and we see page 11. You see what he says down here. In the Bible, we found Ham and his descendants were cursed. He said that. The author is Fitzroy, not Bedoya. So you can't charge Bedoya with the curse of Canaan, at least in this book. See here, page 11. And they already put another author up here, not Bedoya. See,
wait, show that one more time, please.
Right here?
Yes.
Yeah, Ainsworth. That they put Ainsworth on the last page of Fitzroy because Ainsworth was getting ready to start because he started at the bottom. But see, Bedoya's name ain't even up there. Look, still talking about Cain. Dante and Tazarai thought that this was the same author I quoted. Why isn't Bedoya's name on there? It's another example of poor research. Come on, fellas.
Poor vetting.
It's like trying to shoot me, but you're aiming at yourself while yelling at me. So you see what happens here. Comment section. All right, so look. Tazarai receives his next argument for racism from the comment section. He will ignore the mistake he made and use another argument to continue in the genetic fallacy. Tazarai thought the reason Fitzroy's Hamitic entry was mentioned in the book was because, according to him, all of the authors included held racist views. So he thought that, well, he's included in here because all of them are racist. But he's finna quote from a person that's in the book. So that means you're finna quote from a racist too. Like, you know, he thought they all had racist views to black people. So he gonna quote Robert Knox, you know. So another commenter tells Tazarah that many older sources contain scientific racism. So why is Tazarah trying to disqualify Badeau on ideas widely accepted by many authors who are a product of their times? See this fella, I ain't even gonna say his name. I don't even want to drag him out. I would have X'd his name out, but I have nothing against this guy. He helping him. Good for you, pal. So he tells Tazarah, I think it's safe to say that John Badeau was a proponent of scientific racism. He wrote The Races of Britain. That was 1862. This was after the thing that he wrote where he couldn't find the Jews of Jordan, right? So a book he wrote afterwards, but you can lump it in, I guess, right? So he gives him this book. This guy gave him this book when Tazarah was pretty much destroyed, trying to use the curse of Canaan, where that was unfounded. So he said, I'm not even going to acknowledge I made a mistake really in the video. I'm just going, from the comment section, I'll just make the same claim that he was a racist, but use a different source to do it. So this fella gave him that, right? So look at Tazarah. I guess he didn't know about this source because he didn't use it at first. The guy gave it to him. Wow. Well then, according to that, Badeau was definitely an anti-black racist who promoted anti-black scientific theories in his work. Thank you for the confirmation. I had a feeling that his work was included in that book with the Hamitic hypothesis guy because they all shared the same views about black people. Here go the other guy. Now Tazarah should have been wary enough to hear this that he told him. No problem. As you know, a lot of sources around that time period believed in scientific racist theories such as Hamitic hypothesis. If you look up that book Badeau wrote, it's on archive. It wouldn't let me post the link. So if this guy is straight up telling you a lot of people believed in that, why you use it? Why is that like a big surprise, a big deal? Aren't you gonna end up eventually quoting somebody who believes in stuff like that? Why commit the genetic fallacy when we can be on one accord and not have to agree with something racist just because it's in a book at the time where most people held racist ideas? Ridiculous. Look what he's saying here. He keeps saying I'm deceptive about climate. So at this point, if I hear this, I'm deceptive about the climate because I read what the author said, I'm pretty much just gonna ignore this because it's ridiculous. I read what the author says. He's grasping at straws. We're beating him that bad? Like this is pathetic at this point, right? Badeau may not have been the one who said what was on page 11, but the entire book was published by a man who compiled all of the information together in order to put... I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop doing the voice. I was trying to do his voice. So he said that so he said, all right, well, Badeau didn't write what was on page 11, but the whole book was published by a man who compiled all the information together to push a racist narrative. First of all, it's a whole society. So how do you know it's just one man that put the book together? And how do you know that's the motive? One can easily see that by simply reading through each of the chapters. Each of the chapters, so that should include Robert Knox's chapter, who you're gonna quote. So that means by proxy, he's a racist. So you're guilty of the same thing. It's obvious all of the people who are featured in that book believe the same ideas. Robert Knox is in the book. You go quote him, bro. And look down here. P.S. Dante simply said the source that Faithful used contained anti-black racist doctrine. He never attributed what was said on the page of that source to Badeau. Dante didn't know anything. He was just parroting you. And Dante, you should be more responsible than that. You got a website. You reach a lot of people. You should be more responsible. You're better. I believe that you are better than that. You can do better, man. I believe in you, bro. You can do better. I know you can. Don't parrot Tazarah. He's looking up to you. Set an example for him, Dante. You got this, right? Now he's taking the accountability for it here, right? Here, not in the video and not to us, not being fair. Because see, if I'm wrong, I'll come to them. I'm like, all right, yo, I interpreted this wrong. My comprehension was wrong on this. I was wrong. Perhaps you're right. Maybe you're right. But I know that I was wrong. I'd have to do that, right? But here he go taking accountability to this Wallace Jenkins guy in the comment section. That was me, and it was a mistake. But that still does not help 93 in Faithful's case, if I already explained. So he's apologizing, but not apologizing. So I'm apologizing for getting the page wrong, but I'm still going to commit the genetic fallacy. So Tazarah planned to move the goalpost from Badeau to the person who compiled the entire book. But then he admits he made a mistake for being too excited to debunk us. Dante got to be careful who he get his information from. And by the way, Tazara, if you're watching this video, I know I'm making fun and jest. That's only because you kind of was talking tough a little bit. But I don't hate you, bro. You are my brother. Dante is my brother. I disagree with y'all. I'll plan to debate y'all, but y'all are my brother. I don't hate y'all. I don't have any animosity. It's okay to say that you're wrong, because when you can do it, then I can say I'm okay. It's okay for me to be wrong. Instead of us saying you got something wrong, you were lying, you're being deceptive. No, the other alternative is people are incorrect. Being incorrect is not the same as being deceptive. Deceptive implies prior knowledge and then going ahead and doing it anyway. I don't believe a lot of y'all do that. I believe y'all just wrong. And maybe y'all should take a course in methodology. Me too. I'm not the best at methodology. You can catch me up. I'm not infallible, but I'm just saying, bro, I'll have some empathy for you, my brother. I've been wrong before. I won't try to hold it on your head that everything you say is wrong because you made a mistake. But you have to do that for us too. You can't assign fate for a motive just because you don't like him and say, oh, he's a racist because he disagreed. You don't know if he's a racist. Talk to the man. I'm not saying y'all are racist. I'm not saying all these things about y'all. So I'm just saying that y'all just wrong a lot of time. Okay? It's okay for you to be wrong, Tazara. But I got to put you on the spot. I got to get you. I got to get you because this is the sport. This is a sport, baby. So these are the actual sources that he does use against Badeau, right? So yeah, Badeau in his book, he go to the website. This is a different claim of scientific racism. Yes, Badeau is a product of his time. Yes, he is. He used it, and I'm gonna go with it, right? So you see phrenology purported to demonstrate that this. Wait, hold up. I'm trying to see where it says John Badeau. But in here I think it does mention Badeau, right? I'm gonna give them that and be honest. Here's the other one, right? In his influential book, The Race is a Man, 1862, Badeau emphasized the vast difference between the prognathous and an orthognathous jarred people of Britain. These were terms originally. The Irish, Welsh, and significantly the lower class of people were among the prognathous, whereas all men of genius were. So he's basically going at the Irish, Welsh, and the lower class people. And he developed an index of nigricence. So he was looking for Negro-like traits in the Jews and certain other white people that likened them, I guess, to black people, for which he argued that the Irish were close to Cro-Magnon man and thus had links with the Afrocinoid races. And that is not okay, but he is in 1862, and that does not surprise me. So Badeau is a product of his times. Yes, he is. What does that have to do with other people bringing him information on the Jews of Jordan and they can't find it? What does it have to do with the books that he's reading to find them and he can't find it? Come on now. Let's get it together, fellas. All right, let us conclude. Richard Owens' claims was not published in any work that was peer-reviewed by scholars at the time, whereas Badeau's paper was, the Ethnological Society. Owens only made his claim during a lecture that was book release, that was put in the book. The genetic fallacy cuts both ways because one could argue that certain authors Tazara Dante make appeals to, like H.H. Johnson, for example, held anti-Semitic or racist views and therefore would have been inclined to associate Jews with Negroid traits or any other thing racist at the time, right? If we can dismiss evidence we don't like by appealing to motives, then virtually any piece of evidence can just as easily be dismissed by appealing to some alleged motive. In reality, it's a poor and fallacious attempt to avoid the fact that Owens's claim was not confirmed, whereas Badeau's source of an ancient community of non-black Jews was.